What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy, Big Tank Hank, coming at you with another live stream. One thing different about this live stream, for the first time, I'm streaming on Facebook as well as Twitch. So anybody that might be watching it live or watching the rerun on any of those platforms, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see if we can make this an epic new change and addition to what I'm doing over here on the Fishy Den. Well, today we have a wonderful guest. He's been around this fish hobby for a minute, and I really love what he has going on, his passion for the hobby. If you don't know him, you should know him. He goes by the name of RUMBALL from Australia, and we're going to welcome him in. What's going on, sir?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, mate. How are you? Good day, chat.
Good. Good. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. No problem. Let's see. We first want to go over here and see who we got in the chats. Blake's Aquatics. I see him. Welcome, sir. Jerome. Let's see who else. Pride Moore's Fishing More. Glitch Aquatics. Melvin Reef. What's up, Melvin? J Rock does stuff. Renee, what's happening, man? What's happening? Thank y'all for coming in. Hey, share this out. Let them know that we got something going on good over here. All right, sir. First off, the name, because I know I had to find out. Give the people a little insight on where your name comes from.
All right. So, obviously, it's no surprise to me, but a big surprise to everyone. Rumble is actually my last name. So my name is Brendan Rumble. It's spelt like that. It's not L-E at the end. And I think everybody just presumes that it's a nickname, but it's not. It's actually my real government name. So that's where it came from. I didn't actually come up with that one myself.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you, hey guys, I was very surprised, but I had to find out. That's cool. All right, introduce yourself to the people that that don't know you, and give them a little rundown of your beginnings till today.
Oh yeah, all right. So I've been in the hobby for I'm going to call it 8 years. Basically, I class the beginning of the hobby for me was when I actually learned what the nitrogen cycle is. So when I was a kid, I had like an angel fish tank. I used to do the whole 100% water change with tap water. And then later on in life is when I got back into the hobby. I met my wife and she moved in with me. And what actually happened is she left her fish tank at her parents'. And she said she misses having a fish tank in the house. So I decided to get back in the hobby, and that's when I started researching it properly. And I built a 8'7" tank myself as my first serious fish tank. So it was 390 gallons. I've done a few conversions to try and keep the liters in gallons. So then the way I got into breeding was I was actually looking for fish for my 8-foot display tank, and I couldn't find any. I was struggling to find nice males. So I started buying groups of 10 fry to grow out to get the males as a display fish. And then I had all these females. So instead of selling or culling the females, I decided to try breed the fish, and it was just a slippery slope from there. Set up. So originally I had one breeding tank set up, and I would have all the fish in the community tank, and I would pull one colony out at a time and try breed them. And I quickly realized that doesn't work. That just stresses the fish out. And it went on from there. I had a few tanks in a rental, and then when I bought my own house, it got a bit more serious. And so now, fast forwarding, this is the third rendition of my fish room, which is behind me. It's a 6 meter by 3.6 meter. I can't think. Is that 20 foot by 12 foot maybe? That's a guess off the top of my head. So the room has roughly 35 tanks in it, and there's tanks now spilling out of the fish room into the shed. So the room is about 5,000 gallons total, and then I also have a 4,000 gallon koi pond in my backyard, and then I still have a 4 foot tall, I think you would call it, in the house as a goldfish display tank. Yep, so Craig's hit the nail on the head. I do live streams on Friday night, but unfortunately that's like, I think it's about 4 in the morning over your side of the pond.
Oh, okay. So it's still early for you right now.
Yeah, so it's lunchtime. It's 12:30 p.m.
Okay. Good deal. That's wonderful. Yes, man. I really love, to see. I mean, the title says fish room. I mean, that's more than a fish room. I mean, that's like a facility. I mean, so what is it operationally that you do? What do you specialize in?
So I actually mostly have African cichlids, but my YouTube channel is maybe flowerhorn heavy, but like the ratio of fish, I don't actually have as many flowerhorns, but at the moment they're like the thing I'm kind of focusing on, just because it's what I'm interested at this minute. You know what it's like in the fish hobby, it always changes. So predominantly Africans and flowerhorns. I've got a couple of Madagascan cichlids, but I've yet to breed any of them. I've got one Tanganyikan tank, but it's more of like a display thing for me, not breeding really.
Jerome says, how's my waterfall tank?
It's good. So he's referring to an all glass tank. You might have seen it. They're a very old fashioned shop display where the ends are like 6 foot tall and the tanks are built inside the glass, and it's all glass. There's no stand. It's a little bit hard to explain. But the thing is, I'm trying to sell it at the moment, but nobody will buy it because it's completely made of glass. People don't trust that it will actually hold water. One thing I actually didn't think of is I saw a couple of people on my channel were actually excited to catch the live stream because of the time difference. They never actually catch my live streams because obviously it's 4 a.m. in the US.
Most definitely. Let me see. Was it last week? Let me see. Was it last week? I want to say I caught one last week. And then it may not have been live. It may have been a video. You would transfer you were moving some fish out, and you were draining this one tank that you put a male in, and you had added a sponge to it.
Yeah. That gets a bit stressful sometimes when you've got the hoses running and then you're trying to record a video at the same time. bit of multitasking. I did a video, I think 2 days ago, and I was draining 2 tanks and filming at the same time, as well as moving fish. And I just had to put the camera down for 5 minutes and just take a breath and carry on what I was doing.
See, we got some new people. A lot of new people fell in the room. Terry's Tropical Tanks. Stephen P. What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? Craig Donaker. Craig, are you from across the pond? Too coolie for schoolie? What's going on? Patty, what's up, Miss Patty? Geek Boy, what's happening? Yeah. Jeffrey Watts is in the house. What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, so how do you get away with having so many tanks outside but only one in the house?
So as the story goes, I had a fish room in the spare room inside the house. It basically a bit stressful for the wife. Too many tanks inside the house. And as I moved the fish room into the shed, this is a purpose-built room, so it was like a 12-month process to get the tanks from inside the house to outside. And then I still had the 8-foot tank at the time, and it was just too big for the room it was in. So I decided to sell that tank, and when we sold it, we actually had no tanks in the house. And I was like, I'm happy, I've got my shed. Like, what more could I want? And then my wife turned around and one day and says, I miss having a fish tank inside the house. So the 4-foot tank, that's kind of her tank. But one thing I found, if I keep my fish tanks in my personal space, it stops any arguments, and it's really made great harmony in our relationship.
That's good. That's good. Anytime we can get the wife to go along with us in this hobby, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
If their adversary, oh my God. So, what fish you don't have that you would like to get, or you just like to observe from afar?
So I've got my favorite fish that I actually had, but I lost it in a bit of a silly situation. A Fahaka puffer fish, unheard of in Australia, pretty much. I got the opportunity to buy one, and I put it in a tank. It's on my channel, probably 12 months ago. It was sort of like 1 inch big, and then I put some little baby angelfish in there. They would have only been 1/2 inch. They were tiny, and the angelfish ripped the fins off the Fahaka puffer, and it passed away. And that's like the one fish that I just can't replace. And if I could, I don't care how much it was. If I could buy one tomorrow, I'd buy it.
That's baby angelfish?
Yeah, so they nip the fins off.
I know how people, we can't imagine just looking at them, but I hear people tell how adult angelfish how they actually are, and it's always surprising. But to hear baby angelfish attacking, oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a bizarre one for me. The funny thing was, so I had 2 of the Fahaka puffers, and I put the tiny little angelfish in the tank. because I was worried about the fajakas killing each other, and I was using them as a dither fish, and it turns out they killed the fajakas. So the sacrificial fish were the killer fish.
That's crazy. So is it more of a you can't import them in now, or what is keeping you from getting any more?
Yeah, just the import laws. We have crazy import laws. There's so many fish that can't be imported, and even like a lot of the fish that are here were never legally imported. It's like we've got three categories. We've got the fish you can import, and then you've got like gray area fish, which are the fish that were never legally imported but aren't illegal, and then you've got illegal fish. So like if you get caught with them at all, you face fines. So a lot of the fish we keep in Australia is in that middle ground. They're not legal, but they're not illegal.
How's that possible?
Yeah. So the reason it's a grey area is because the import laws that came in the 70s or 80s, I think 80s, and if you have these fish now, the argument is that they were imported into the country prior to the import laws. So there's no way that they can prove when the fish came into the country.
Okay.
So it's a little bit complicated, but hopefully I explained it well enough.
Yeah. I think I got that. Man, what stemmed those laws in the first place, especially being so long ago? I mean, what was going on that made them say, "Hey, we don't need to bring in any of these fish"? And if so, we're gonna penalize you. I mean, were they concerned about the over collection of them?
I think the main concern is the danger to our native species. Like if the fish were to get into our waterways, I'm not 100% sure. I'm guessing another concern would be the risk of bringing in parasites through the fish.
Gotcha.
But I think the danger to our native species is the main one.
Okay. I can see that. That's cool. So how many do you guys have fish clubs, or like we have over here, where they have the meetings and swaps and things of that nature?
Yeah, so we've got a group called Perth Cichlid Society. It's definitely not as big as what you guys have, but it's our small little thing. I was actually one of the committee members, and I just recently stepped down because I've just recently had a baby. So I was just trying to manage my time. But I'll probably step back up into the committee next year sometime.
Okay. Yeah, you did. Did you have a video? I think it may have been your video where it was like water changing with a baby and climbing ladders or something. Was that you?
yeah, that was me.
Okay. Cool. You said the new baby. I was like, wait a minute. That sounded familiar. Okay. The first baby?
Yeah, first baby.
How is that for you?
Yeah, it's really good. I'm enjoying it so far. He's 6 weeks old yesterday, so he's still young, but so far it's been an amazing experience.
Okay. Yeah, when they nice, new and shiny, yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
When you can find them, you know where you left them. That's when it's good. when they start moving around, oh man, no, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. I can see all that because all of mine are grown now. Well, almost grown, just about grown, kind of grown, close to grown.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So what's in the tanks behind you?
So let's see if I can get my fingers right. This tank here is my little Tanganyikan tank. That's got some gold carvers in there. As you know, they're going to be growing for many years. And Ortopinus, I can't remember the last phrase. One thing I'm horrible at is remembering the scientific names of the fish. This tank, oh, I find it so hard to point. They're Travessa reds, African cichlids. I can't remember which reds they are because there's two different variants. I do have a notebook which has all the fish and numbered tanks listed in it, so I do remember what they are. We've got your electric yellows in that tank just up there. You can just see them. That tank there's got star sapphires in it. And then which way are we? Down the bottom. That tank there has got code blue Alunicara. That one there has got white lips. So the cousins of those ones up there. So I've got the two variants. And then these two tanks here are flower horns. This is really hard. That girl there is a KZZ girl, and then there's a Thai silk short body male there, and then the tank below is all the fish that I've bred. Well, actually, I've bred the male up there as well. So they're all, the bottom ones there are just super red dragons.
Okay. So are those all like farmed in your area? Because for them to be African cichlids, like with the import laws, how do you know what I'm saying? How do you get them?
So most of my fish are bred by a breeder in Melbourne. They do come into the country, we'll say that. So all of my fish are locally bred, but their parents aren't necessarily locally bred. Yeah. The same with the flower horns. Same sort of situation.
Okay. Jerome says,
do I have?
You have a favorite YouTube channel?
I actually don't watch a great deal of fish YouTube. My favorite YouTube channel is actually a car channel, Cletus McFarlane. As far as fish, I've really been getting into. I watch quite a lot of Blake's Aquatics, and I'm trying to think of the channel name. Mental blank. I'll have a quick look. It'll be in my recent watches.
Jerome, you put him on the spot, man.
Simply Better. So I can't remember her name. I watch her quite a bit because recently I've been trying to get into better breeding, but not having much success.
Okay.
So this is a really good question. I really want to breed / have white-eyed, short-body Thai silk flower horns, but I can't find any. I don't know anyone who has them, so I'm going to try and make them myself. So if you look up in that tank there, I've got the white eye KZZ girl, and I'm crossing her with a short body Thai silk flower horn, and so that's my goal, is to get the white eyes with the short body Thai silk flower horn. Okay. So that's like the main thing that appeals to me about flower horns, is like trying to, the genetics just fascinate me. That's how I actually got hooked on them.
Gotcha. Flower horn. They're a very, very intriguing fish. What let me see, which one do I want to ask first? What type of substrates do you prefer?
I don't run a great deal of substrate, but I've had plenty of experience with it. I honestly think my favorite substrate is coarse pool filter sand. So it's like a little bit, so it's like quite coarse compared to like your white sand. It's crazy cheap. I'm always an advocate for cheap.
Amen.
And then as for planted tank, the only two I've used is the ADA substrate and the Fluval. I can't think of the name of it. And I preferred the Fluval just because it's cleaner, even though it may not quite be as good for the plants. It still grew plants plenty good for me.
Gotcha. Y'all forgive me for fumbling around with these lights. I'm having a fit over here. That's cool. So what kind of filtration do you use?
So my filtration, everything is air driven. I don't have any mechanical filters. So basically just DIY airlifts. I'm wondering, I can probably bring a little picture up. I should have got some pictures ready.
In the past, have you ever used hang on the backs or canisters?
I've had a couple of hang on the backs, but only the very small ones on like a 30-liter tank. I don't know, what would that be in gallons? Like a 15-gallon tank.
Okay.
Canister filters, I've used quite a few. So this is a controversial one. I had an FX6 and I didn't like it. But I had one of, I'm from what I can gather, I had one of the early release FX6s right when they went from the FX5, and I think the issue that I had with it was to do with the self-priming. I don't think that's an issue anymore, so I still think that would be a good filter, but obviously that price tag. So this is kind of like, this picture here is basically the definition of my channel. So it's basically a little bucket. It's got the little drain pipes, so the two pipes on the right hand side there, and it's filled with some basic clay beads, jet mat, and then sponge, and then the pipe coming out of the right hand side on the top photo is actually an airlift, so just feed some air in the bottom there. And this is one of my favorite filters. I think it looks cool, just a rubbish bin sitting in the fish tank. What were we talking about before that? I kind of got excited to show the photo and forgot what we were. Oh, I was talking about canister filters. I'm quite a big fan of the Nautilus 2700. That's what I've got running on my tank in the house. Although they are very brittle. Pulling them open to clean them, I definitely make sure I'm super careful. I've actually got a video on it, but I take it outside and I put my thumb in the hole for the water outlet, the outlet hole, and I turn it on and it actually pops the lid off for me, because I find if you use those handles on the side of the Nautilus 2700, it cracks the side of the case, so I never use those handles on the side. And I've always had pretty good luck with the Suns, like the 1400 and the 1800, the smaller ones. But I recently got the WH5000, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. But as far as the smaller ones, the older style, the white container with like the blue prime button on the top, I think they're pretty good for the how much they cost. He's back.
Yeah, I've never really experienced a canister filter. I've thought about it, but I guess I've never ran tanks large enough to where it felt like I needed to do it, you know.
Yeah, I definitely think for me, air driven is my favorite, just because of the simple fact of how cheap they are to run. I've got the canisters on the tank in the house. I do plan on changing it to a sump. I definitely prefer a sump over a canister filter. The reason I had canisters on it is because it used to be a planted tank, and I used canisters because I didn't want to dissipate the CO2. So I had the canisters on there to reduce any water retention, to keep the CO2 in the tank.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like sump. I ran a very large sump on a 55-gallon tote in my garage. The sump was almost the same size as the actual tote. That's cool.
Yeah,
have you had,
you can't.
Go ahead.
You can't go past a sump, definitely.
Have you ever had salt water?
Yeah. I had a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2.5 foot cube, and I think I had it for about 6 months, and I don't know why, but it didn't really interest me. I think I'm not sure why. I think I really love breeding fish, and as far as having the saltwater as a display in the house, I kind of lost interest in it.
Gotcha. No hand. It wasn't hands-on, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to find a photo of one of my sumps. So this.
Panama City, Boss Aquatic, what's going on? Lefty, what's happening? Griffin, what's going on? What's going on?
So if you look at this photo here, this sump is 8 foot and 7 inches long. I think just the sump alone was around 120 gallons. That's a bit of a stab at the dark, that one. So I kind of explain it. It had sponge filter, Then it had K1. Then it had Backy rods and Marine Pure. And then it had 2 holding bays for fish at the end. It was actually a 12-foot fish tank, and I cut it down to fit under my 8-foot. And it was awesome. At one stage, the 8-foot had 5 stingrays around 8 inches, and the filter kept up with it. Like, this is it was such overkill for the tank. So the filter's basically 1/3 of the size of the tank. But yeah, that was a pretty cool sump.
Yeah, that sounds like how mine was. Not quite that large though, but yeah. Oh, that's cool. And what was the holding bay for your fish?
I used to either grow out fish in there to put in the bigger tank, or if there's a bit of aggression, I'd use it to hold the fish to either hold the angry fish or repair the damaged fish.
Oh, okay. The angry one. Oh man, that's cool. That's cool. So you're going to the flower horn. Tell everybody how you got started with flower horn.
So it was probably about 3 years ago. I was a flower horn hater. They're detrimental to the hobby. Nobody should breed them. And one of my friends was breeding them, and he lived in the country, and he was bringing the fish to Perth, where I live, and I was bagging them in oxygen and sending them off at the airport for him. And I think what happened is he brought a pair up, and I was meant to put the pair on the plane the next day, sort of thing. And he messaged me and he says that the buyer has fallen through. You can keep the pair. So then I was like, I hate flower horns. Why have I got these fish in my fish room? And then I was like, well, they're here. I might as well try to breed them. So basically, I remember getting a plate of eggs really fast, and I started raising them. And at the time, I thought, wow, flower horn's really easy to breed because I was successful so quickly. Later on, found out that not every pair pairs that easy, and it does get more difficult. But so then I started interacting with the fish and realized how interactive they are. So I sort of started liking them a bit more. And then I started raising the fry, and I was watching the fry, and like the quality difference in the fry and the different genetics, and seeing how many different variants they produce. And it sounds silly, but the culling process and like trying to strive for the best quality, it just hooked me in, hook, line and sinker. I went from they're the worst thing in the world to I love breeding these fish within 6 months. And yeah, if people that watched my YouTube, if they are OGs that watch the beginning of the channel, you can actually see my progression into flower horns on my channel. But yeah, it was a friend. I can blame it on him.
They set him up, y'all. They set him up. So is it actually as hard to house male and females together? We know you can't do males, but is it that hard to keep male and females together, like just on a permanent basis, or do you have to separate?
I've never left them together on a permanent basis, but I don't think it would work personally. I have seen people do it in saying that it's not worth the risk for me to try it. The problem is, even if you get, I get pairs that will get along for like weeks on end, and then when they breed, after they lay the eggs, the female's one job is to defend those eggs. So then if the male comes anywhere near the eggs, the female will attack the male. So that's when I separate. After they've laid the eggs, I separate them so that the female doesn't kill the male. It's actually the opposite way round to what people think. It's not actually the males that I'm worried about.
Okay. Yeah, no, we thought it was the male that's, he was out for blood at all times.
Yeah, so male, and obviously if a pair doesn't get along at all, the male's generally the bigger fish, so they'll probably win. But as far as if the male accepts the female, then it's definitely the female's the aggro one. Kind of like humans, really.
Don't get in trouble. No, that's cool. That's cool. So on the better side, you said you was interested in breeding of betters. Did you completely stop?
No, so I've got 2 pairs currently. I've got a Koi Galaxy pair, and then I've got another pair which is blue, but they're from the Koi Galaxy parents. They're like the blue offspring kind of thing from the Koi Galaxy. I don't really know what to refer to them as. But I see, like, I'd love to get my hands on some wilds, but once again, the availability of them in Australia is questionable.
Yeah, I love some wild betters. As you can see, my background right there, wild and tuta.
Yeah.
Complex. Yeah, I really, 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 really like wild betters. But yeah, the mouth brooders, because I've done both. The fancies, the egg nest, and male and female getting along, and I mean that can be a very, very sensitive scenario to deal with until you have had your first successful spawn with mouth brooders, and the ones that can actually live in colonies. Man, it just opens up this whole nother better world to you.
Yeah, so obviously being an African cichlid breeder, the mouth brooders really appeal to me, but I've never had a chance to get my hands on them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so better fish like the nesting style, they're basically miniature flower horns, like how aggressive they are and trying to pair them. And it's funny because my friend breeds betters, and he gave me the pairs that I have, and I haven't had any success breeding them. And then I give him flower horns, and I'm like, flower horns are easier than betters. And he hasn't had success breeding the flower horns, and he's saying, no, betters are easier than flower horns.
Oh, yeah, it'll be that way sometime, man. Now, to me, let me see, betters were pretty easy, I guess, for me to breed them. It's just, man, it opens a Pandora's box, because you get all these, you go from 2 fish to 50,
Yeah.
That's that. Hey, that becomes very, very worrisome. You have to be ready for it. But it's cool though to see what you come out with. The ability that they have to change colors, throughout the whole maturing process. That's a crazy situation to see. I mean, because you just don't know what you're gonna get, literally.
Speaking of having too many babies when you breed them, down this side, that bottom corner there, the 5-gallon bucket on the ground, that's currently housing 200 flower horns. Little like quarter inch baby flower horns down in a bucket.
Man. So what's your plan? Because you done got them to that size and there's still that many of them. Ooh-wee.
So from there, basically they go into IBC. I don't know if you call them the same thing.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah. So, which is actually something I've got to do this week. I've got to move some fish around so that they can go into the IBC, and then I keep them in there till sort of 5-6 centimeters, and then I slowly pick them out and put them in these divided tanks up here, and then so like that I try to sell a few of them and constantly just keep that cycle going. Obviously the problem with that is when they start to get to 5 centimeters in the IBCs, they start fighting. So
there you go. That was my next question. How long can they live together?
So I've had a batch in the IBC still living together at sort of 10 centimeters. But it was sort of like at least 50 still in there. So the aggression was quite spread. And, but there was many like torn fins and like nothing in there was sellable. It's kind of like you have to take them out of that and put it into a better living condition to get it to look good enough to sell, you know? So although they will survive getting bigger in an IBC, they won't thrive.
Gotcha. I got you. I'm going to tell you one thing about the betters. If, let's say you did the same thing, people don't really try it. And for some people, this is going to be mind-blowing for them to hear this. Take that same IBC with your betters. You can put a whole spawn in an IBC, you know, and have floating plants, you know, pretty thick. You can raise them up to a quite a bit of size, 2 inches up to maybe 3 inches. A whole spawn can stay together, even the males, because them being raised together, you're rolling the dice doing it, but you can actually do it. You can have a whole bunch of betters living together. Now, the proper process is to, you know, start to jar your males, because the females can still hang out together. You start jarring your males. The second you separate one male, I mean, that fast, it's over.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. Any fish for that matter, even African cichlids, a fish that grew up in a group is always better than a fish that grew up separated. Even to the point where if I buy a colony of African cichlids, I always find that the bought colony never does well. And then I breed that colony and I keep all the fry and I grow the fry out in my fish room. My own bred fry seem to always do better than a bought colony. So
Gotcha.
Pretty much every colony in my fish room is fish that I've bred. And I just find they're in that tank since they're like tiny, and they seem to live so much better. It's even like a funny one in the IBCs when you put the wrigglers in there. I put wrigglers in an IBC once just because people used to try to tell me that you can't put small fish in there because they won't find the food. So I said, let's try wrigglers. And I put the wrigglers in there and they all survived. But the funny thing was, like 5 months later, I put a net in to scoop the fish out. They'd never seen a net in their life, and they're swimming towards the net. I've never seen a fish swim towards a net before, and like it didn't take them long to realize that it was a bad thing. But that first few times, I could just scoop them up because they didn't know what a net was.
That sounds like guppies. BJ Palmer, what's going on? Crazy. One thing about the thought of the large mass amount of water and fry is if it's an established pond or whatever it is, there's food everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah, there's food everywhere. So wherever the fry finds themselves at any given time, there's some food there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll get to where I have these stone hard rules that we go by because of maybe how we approach it. You set up a new big pond or whatever to move your fry over into. They are totally reliant on what you put in there to feed them. And yes,
Yeah.
you might lose them because, oh, he's way down there. He doesn't even know food was dropped in there. He's looking for food down there, and he dies down there. But yeah, if everything's established, you're good.
One thing that I've found with fry, any breed of fish, if you feed them live food at their young ages, I always have much better success. Obviously, betters I haven't bred, but I'd presume like vinegar eels, you would have a way higher success than like ground flake. But
Yes.
with American cichlids especially, I see posts on Facebook of people saying they're not having great success, and then people commenting on things like the lighting and the temperature and that. But I find if you feed them live hatch brine shrimp, doesn't matter, or like temperature is kind of important, but I just find like they all survive. The only tough bit is getting them off the brine shrimp onto pellets later on.
Yeah, that's pretty much a guarantee with betters because, better fry for the most part don't want it if it's not swimming. You had a whole spawn and you start them off on ground flake or something of that nature. Out of maybe 20 fry, 3 might live, maybe 5. From going from the beginning with the ground flake. But yeah, if you put live food in there and you got 20 fry, yeah, you're looking at 17 easy.
Yeah.
Maybe all 20 will make it. All you have to do is just change your water out.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually feeding live baby brine twice a day, and I've actually cut it down to once a day, and I'm finding I'm still getting the same survival rate in the flower horns. So that's good for me because it's less work. But
right.
If you set the hatchery up right, I don't find it a bother at all to hatch it. I've got a vinegar eel culture there, but I haven't used it yet. Vinegar eels are a bit too small for flower horns, so I'm saving them for if I do breed the betters. I've actually got a few live cultures. I've got a live blackworm culture, and I've recently got a Daphnia culture, which I haven't really set up yet. They're just in a jar. So I do love my live foods.
Gotcha. I'm in and out. I haven't started any brine shrimp yet. And I need to force myself. I'm sitting here. I love Atabantoids. Your labyrinth fish. And when you do get a spawn, for the most part, all of them, it would be a wonderful thing to start the fry off, with live food. Infusoria, I have tanks that, Infusoria just thrive in the tank. So there's your jump start. But once they get beyond that, it's more responsible to have the live baby brine sitting on weight. And I need to make myself do it, because hey, how am I gonna be successful if I don't? Yeah, that live food, it goes a long, long way. That's the natural way to go.
Yeah. I think also with brine, one thing that people overlook, if you put a powdered food into the tank and it settles to the bottom and they don't eat it, it fouls the water. Whereas brine shrimp, if they don't eat it, will just swim in the water until they eat it. So it's not actually fouling the water like an uneaten powder would. I think that's one thing that also adds to that, especially the young fry. I don't have a filter in there that first week. I've only got an air stone, so they're relying on that, on like that clean water, daily water changes until they get a filter in their tank.
Most definitely. That's most definitely. Big Easy, what's going on? Yeah, no, that's most important. The water, I mean, you follow the water, I mean, almost immediately. When, you know, 24 hours, it's done. You know, it's done.
Yeah.
Especially with betters, they want you to start off with the shallow water anyway, so it's even worse.
Yeah. That's one thing that surprised me with the betters, like visiting someone's house that breeds betters. I couldn't believe how little water was in the tank to breed the fish, like only like 3 inches deep to breed the fish. That was a new thing for me.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, it's easier for the male to keep track of the eggs, you know, as they're falling.
Yeah.
That's one. It's easier for him to, you know, to keep up with them. If the fry is falling out of the nest while he's taking care of them, he can pop them right back up. You know, less of a chance of him getting tired and, you know, lose interest, which that really doesn't happen. But, you know, when we're in control of what's going on, you know, you want to err on the side of productivity. But it works. It works pretty well though.
Yeah.
So what's your plans if you can get your better program jumped off? Is it just interest you have, or you want
to? Initially, I just want to have a spawn to watch them grow. I think that's what one of the main fascinations about the hobby is, like raising a batch of fry. And I'm presuming it's going to be similar to what I get out of the flower horns, like selecting your fish and getting that kick out of like improving a line. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go too mainstream and have like hundreds of jars across the room, but I also I can't say that won't happen.
Yes. If you're successful in keeping the fry alive, it's gonna happen. How fast because I mean flower horn, I know they grow pretty slow also, but picking conformation and color and things of that nature, how fast does it take for you to be able to recognize that?
Generally the first fish I pick out maybe 3 months, and then but sort of not really selling size until 6 months old. So it's like 3 months old start to pick out what I think is going to be good, and then 6 months old is when I really decide whether it's quality enough for me to sell.
Gotcha. Because I'm gonna tell you, with betters, 6 months, they still changing color. If you have any control in it, it's always best to have some strongly bred, you know, betters, you know, very, very, very good bloodlines, because the more watered down the bloodlines get, your Petcos and your, you know, Pet Smarts, man, you may have what looks to be clear fish for a long time, or you'll have, you know, they start coloring up and they're red, and then in a matter of a week or to a couple of days, this red fish starts to lose pigmentation, or you start seeing purple, and then you start seeing these other colors coming in. Then now you have a Nemo. It's 2 color changes, and then that Nemo turns cellophane in 6 months. Sometimes it's water quality, sometimes it's a stress thing, but a lot of times it's just genetics. Where's that fish going? You know, they betters will take you on a journey.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know they change color that late in their life. So I kind of have a bit of history on the betters I have. I saw the batches, so I would say the parents were the koi color variation, and I would say about 30% of the fry were that koi color. There was a lot of blue fish in there, and they're F3, so they're 3rd generation of the breeder trying to breed that koi line.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's always a good way to start, because yeah, when you have no idea that first jump off, oh man, they are all over the place.
Yeah. Jerome says, how long until the kid gets a better? We'll see, we'll see. Still be a while yet. He's only 6 weeks old.
Fishy Biz, what's going on? What's going on? In the house, in the house. All right, sir. We've hit the 1 hour mark. And I would say this was a good time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I really enjoyed it.
Most definitely, man. I mean, I'm glad I started doing this, because it's how can I put it? The excitement that I would get when I'd get, you know, a video or somebody who I've never seen the channel before, and it pops up on my, you know, on my line, and it's like, hey, you know, somebody, this you might enjoy, or specifically for you, and you watch a video, you know, and it's like every time I find somebody new, I mean, you're not new, but to some people, you know what I'm saying? You find somebody new, man, and I'm like, anybody that I can think of that I watch, especially if I've been watching them a long time, and we have all these new fish people coming in, because this is how can I say, I don't know if it's an ebb and flow. It's, you know, everything is cyclical. I don't know if we've hit this spot before, but you know, the hobby is real popular. You know, we have a lot of new channels coming in, and yeah, they have to know where the beginning was, you know, to know where they're headed. You know, they come in thinking they're recreating the wheel. You know, and I want them to see.
It's definitely the same here. So, like, because I've been in the cichlid club for about 8 years now. I've seen like a cycle. When I started in the club, it was high, and then there was a dip, and then it's come back up full cycle, and we're back at the start where I was 8 years ago.
Yep. Yep, and it's crazy. I want to try to keep everybody connected. That's pretty much what I try to do here. You know, Fishy Den, everybody come in, get comfortable, reintroductions, new introductions. You know, I get people in sometimes, they may have 25 subs, but if they have 3, 4 videos, you can kind of get a taste of where they're trying to go. That's not guaranteed they're going to stay around, but you kind of get a feel of what they're trying to do, and I'll bring them on. I mean, hey, I like what you're trying to do here. I want everybody to, if I can give you a help on your jump start, you know, and there's so many people in the fish fam who is willing to help you and answer questions. And the sooner they know that you're around, the longer you can actually stay in the hobby.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Obviously, catastrophic failure on a tank is the fastest thing to remove people from the hobby. And if everybody's helping each other, it eliminates that.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. Well, all right, everybody. Thank y'all for coming through, sitting down with us, you know, and enjoying this little old chat time, chopping it up. Y'all getting to know Rumball, all over again reintroduction to him for those who remember him from his very beginnings. For Twitch and for Facebook. Thank y'all. You know, this is my first time trying to get this thing rolling. So we're gonna see what we can do with that. See if we can get more people in this family. You know, the bigger the better, the more the merrier. That's what they say. So, you know what I always say? Love somebody. Tell somebody you love them now. And take care of those fish. And we're out.